Living in the diaspora without a job is one of the worst things that can ever happen to a person. You should not even pray it for your enemy. Hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. This is Nosroda. Thank you so much for clicking in. So today I'll be talking about ways in which you can get a job here in Finland as a student. So first and foremost, before we get into the details, I want to say in Finland, students are required to work at most 30 hours per week, right? This is because the government and the authorities want to make sure that you have sufficient time to be able to face your studies, and not just always be on at the job site. Yes, because you came here to study and they want to see that you graduate as a successful student. So make sure that even if you are getting a job or a part-time job, make sure to stay within the confines of that 30 hours so you don't get into trouble, because you never know what will happen. And in Finland, rules are very, very important. Se on pakko. Se on pakko. However, I think during the holiday or during summertime, students are allowed to work, more hours as much as possible, and not just the 30 hours defined. It is the 30 hours is supposed to be just during school periods, but during the holiday or during summer periods, you are allowed to work as much as your strength allows you. Yeah, so the first way in which you can be able to land a job as a student in Finland is after your first or last practice. Now, I said your first or last practice because most of the times employers want to see or want to know that, okay, you've been able to at least have a little feel of how the working environment is. For example, those who are studying nursing or practical nursing, it is very important because with you getting a job without having experienced how the work situation is, it's a little bit stressful. And for someone who does not understand the language at all, and then you also don't know what is happening at the place of work. It brings like double stress to the workplace, and the most employers do not want that to happen. So therefore, usually I would advise that you start looking for a job after your first practice. As a nursing student, you must have learned a few languages, a few words that will help you, even if you are going to a Van Hakotti, an elderly home, to be able to get a part-time job there. And also, during the interview, most employers will want to know that, okay, you've had that experience, you've had that little feel of how the workplace is before they are actually employing, so that you don't come and you be a nuisance, or they have to be correcting you and teaching you everything from scratch like a student, right? So it is very, very important to apply after your first practice or your last practice at the place where you did your practice. This is very, very easy for most people because maybe during your practice time, depending on how interesting, how efficient you were during your practice, how active you were in your practice, your supervisor could, or even the boss, even the employer could see that, okay, this person is really showing a lot of interest. And so when you ask them for a job, there is a high probability of them accepting you and giving you, because you've also known how the place works and also your interest in the job. Moreover, even if the place where you did your practice, they didn't accept to give you a job, you can be able to have that confidence to say you call another workplace or you apply to somewhere, and even if they are giving you an interview, you'll be able to tell them that, oh, I did my practice in this place, I did my practice in this place, and this was it. You will have something to say during the interview. The second way in which you can be able to get a job is by applying through job websites. For example, Yobly, Molpistefi, Dunitori, and a lot more. So the challenge that comes with this option, you have to apply, using a CV, cover letter, and just a normal application process, right? And one important thing you have to know is to make sure that you write your CV in the Finnish language, because a lot of times there are a lot of applicants that are applying. So imagine you send your CV in English language, that's just going to be, they are not even going to look at it at all. Now, the challenge with this job website is that, you have to go through interviews and a lot more. And for someone who has just recently moved to Finland, probably you don't have a strong command on the Finnish or Swedish language. That actually is a downside. However, I don't want to discourage you. You still have to try, because you might get lucky and you are accepted for the job. Getting recommendation is another way in which you can easily get a job here in Finland. For example, we know in Africa they talk a lot about godmothers and godfathers. I want to say that actually also exists here in Finland, but in a subtle way. So getting recommendation, it could be from someone a friend, a boss, wherever, right? Just because that person has seen you as reliable and is able, as a Finnish person, calls maybe another job place, they can be able to recommend you to this workplace or wherever you want, and and because of that recommendation, you can easily get a job. I can testify to that because my first ever summer job I got here in Finland was as a result of a recommendation, and with that, it really helped me. So I want to say this: find as much as possible. If you can get a recommendation, please do, because that could be your ticket to getting a job in Finland. The last point is something that I would recommend, even though it's not very popular. I have used it and it worked for me. If you've tried all the other ways and you didn't get a job, this last point I'm recommending for you is something you have to try. So this is about you finding, if you have a particular place where you really desire to work at, you can find a way to contact the boss, take that bold step, go to this place, meet their boss, and try to talk to them that you really need this job. Sometimes you can be lucky and you can find favor before the boss or whoever is the recruiter there, and they can see the enthusiasm and the desire that you really want to work in this place. And with that, you can easily get a job in Finland, right? It is something that is not very popular, but it works. And if you've actually ever tried this, please put it in the comment section below. With that said, that's it for me on this video of how to get a job as a student here in Finland. If you have more questions and comments, please put in the comment section below, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.